Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine with another ranking video of sorts. And this is a video where I've put together 21 of the most emotive, emotional pieces of music that I play on a regular basis. I think that sounds okay. And when I put this together, I did try and put it in 21 down to 1 in a kind of sensible way. But I've written the list out half a dozen times. This is a video I was going to do a while ago, and I just kept changing my mind. It's almost like one of those Harry Potter books where all the words keep moving around every time you open it up. And I think it's because a lot of this music that I'm going to show you, the tracks from the albums, change a lot depending on how I personally feel from day to day. And in fact, even while I'm talking to you now, my brain is going, Phil, you forgot that As Wichita Falls, So Wichita Falls by Pat Metheny, because that's one of the most emotive pieces of music I can think of. It's not in my list, but it's just come into my head. That'll probably be on a playlist video very, very soon. So what I've done is just pick music that makes me reflect, stops me in my tracks. It doesn't have to be emotive or emotional stuff to make me do that. It could be a really full-on rock track that makes me, so I'm just giving the music, my 100% of my attention. But these are all songs or pieces of music that have made me look at where I was in my life, that have helped me through difficult times or made me look at alternative routes through whatever I'm doing. Okay, that's pretty deep, isn't it? So, and I do want you at the end of this video to put in the comments, it doesn't have to be 21, you don't have to be like me, but just maybe 2 or 3 things, pieces of music, it doesn't matter what it is, what artist, whether it's got voices in it or not, or guitars or trumpets, that you find yourself going back to over time. Gosh, and I need to get on with this now because there are things bubbling into my head that aren't on my list. Right. Number 21 is, it's already there. Cats in Space, Fell Out of Love with Rock and Roll. This is the song that the band finishes their set with, and I don't think they'll ever be able to move away from it. And the video is what did it for me when I first got into the Cats, which wasn't that long ago in real terms, I guess. And it's because it's looking back and how music had changed and how the band loved this kind of the period of like ELO, Queen, and the video's got all these kind of things in it that I remember Day at the Races by Queen coming up. But it's the way that the lyrics are done and the arrangement of the song, especially towards the end when this kind of chorus, just layers and layers of these immaculate voices, which the Cats do so well, just comes on towards the end. And it just gives me a sense of melancholy, I guess, which a lot of the things I'm choosing today in this video do, but in a very upbeat way, as if whatever's been holding me back, it's time to move on because there is hope. There is a sense of purpose in this. And I think that's what comes across in the song is that they fell out of love with rock and roll, but obviously they didn't really because they love rock and roll. And I guess it kind of shows you that we live in changing times. But actually, if you look more clearly and allow a bit of space around what you're doing in your life, things are roughly pretty much the same for you to continue to maneuver within that space. God, that was deep. But that's Cats in Space is at number 21. Right, number 20 is an instrumental. It's by the band called Camel, and it's from the album I Can See Your House From Here. And the track is Ice. This is 10 minutes long, and it's a guitar solo which doesn't approach anything to do with speed or flashiness or what can I do to show how great a guitarist I am. This is somebody communicating with you, the listener, through their instrument, through the guitar in this case, note by note. in a way that, like I'm talking to you now, if I was talking at 100 miles an hour, it'd be harder for you to understand what I was saying. And I think this is one of those guitar tracks that's played as if it's a conversation to you, the listener. And it's just fantastic. It's one of the finest pieces of music by the band Camel in their entire catalogue, as far as I'm concerned. I can remember being played it for the first time. I was in a band in Oxford, and at that time I was listening to nothing but 80s metal and stuff like that. And my friend put this track on. He said, "Phil, you have to listen to this," because obviously I was a guitarist and, you know, listening to all of the kind of like full-on shredders. And I like Camel, by the way. I just kind of, by this time I'd moved slightly off center, away from them. And he played this track to me, Ice, and it became one of my favourite tracks. It completely stopped me in my tracks, literally. And although I've got the album on CD and vinyl, it's the track that I play. It's the track that I play the most. And if I had to put together my favourite Camel tracks, it would definitely be very much up the top. It's just so emotive. It's as if the guitar can tune into exactly how you feel. And the other thing that I like about it, because let's say you're in a different kind of mood and this music comes on, it actually draws you in to be part of the emotional feel that the artist wanted you to kind of feel, if that makes sense. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, pottering around, it will draw you in and bring you to being still, to listen to the music, as I call it, active listening. You're completely immersed in it. So that's Camel and the track Ice from I Can See Your House From Here. What's next? What's next is Fleetwood Mac, and it's from the live album. This is the box set, which I might do a separate video on at another time. And it's the song called "I'm So Afraid." When I first got this album, I didn't play it that much. I was a Fleetwood Mac fan. You know, I'd gone through Rumours and Tusk, etc. And this comes out, it's a live album. And I thought, well, it's, you know, my idea of live albums was very different back then. It was about, you know, extended, stretched out versions of stuff. And I couldn't imagine, you know, I thought, well, you know, Fleetwood Mac live album, I've got it, you know, I'm a fan. And I didn't know this track at all, really, because I hadn't got the previous one to Rumours, I'm So Afraid. And it's become such an integral part of my listening history, really. And I think it's because Lindsey Buckingham, who sings this, and the way he sings it, he's so afraid. It's so different to what else happens on the album. The chord sequence and the way he sings, he sounds afraid. He sounds like he's really on the edge. He's really worried about. And again, the lyrics might be nothing to do with this. What I'm doing in this video is telling you what the music does to me. So this is what it felt like to me, and it still does. So if I've got doubt or I'm not sure, whatever, I can put myself in this song, and so I don't need to know what Lindsey really meant when he wrote this. It's what the song means to me. But it's the solos. It is guitars again. It's the guitar solo. When the first note comes in, and there are two moments of the guitar solo, it's so in tune with the human heart. It's a bit like Kossoff's opening note in Mr. Big. There's something about the way the guitar comes in on the root note. Angus Young has done it, so it's not just about I can think of several tracks where he's done it. It's about it being so in tune with the emotional content of the lyrics and the lyrical delivery, the vocals, that the guitar says things within itself that the human voice cannot express. And this solo does that. And especially on as we move towards the main solo. And you can almost imagine Lindsay's teetering on the edge of the stage. This is what I see in my mind. He's literally rocking backwards and forwards, and as he gets higher and higher, and it's just tearing out the soul of the human spirit. It's just absolutely one of the best guitar solos I've ever heard. It would be probably my top 10 solos if I ever did a video on that. It is incredible. And of course, he gets so high, it reaches a point where he breaks his guitar string, and you even say I broke a string at the end. It is absolutely incredible. I kind of just visualize him pouring out his heart, teaching on the edge of the stage. I don't know whether that was really going on or not, but the way it's delivered, the solo, the notes, the melody, the structure, it's just absolutely incredible. I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid by Fleetwood Mac live. Incredible. It's the best version. And it really shows you what a genius Lindsey Buckingham is on guitar. And I just wish he'd stretch out more like that. But it is amazing. Wow. You have to go and play that now, don't you? I would hope. Right, what's next? Next is different. It's Max Richter, and it's Mercy, which is from Voices. There are two Max Richter pieces of music in this list, and it's just something about the simplicity of piano that almost hangs in the air and violin that sits and floats down upon the top of it. And you have to watch these on YouTube. There's something the way that the slow floating imagery of the human condition that floats across the screen with this music sitting behind it makes it, to me, one of the most heartfelt and stop you dead in your tracks pieces of music I've ever heard. This does kind of pull me down in a way, but it makes me reflect. It makes me look about what I'm doing in front of me. Is this really what I want to be doing? Am I really needing to do this next, or could I actually bypass that? And maybe I should go out for a walk and look at the sky and the trees and walk down to the beach. There's something about it, about this music, that really connects to me. It's like a conversational piece, but there's no words. But it's fantastic. Max Richter and Mercy from Voices. What is next? Colin Towns. This is, I suppose, a tenuous link to Deep Purple, who actually aren't in my list. And it's the album Full Circle. God, I love this. I'll be honest, I have this on CD, which is quite rare to get, and I have multiple versions on vinyl. Why? I just feel like every time I see one, I have to rescue it. It's actually the soundtrack from a horror film, which is also very hard to find, unless the BFI have just released a version, actually, and it's on the BFI channel, and it's Maya Farah's in it. And it's what set Colin Towns' career up to being a composer, film composer, just as he was on the 1978, as the verge he was joining the Gillan Band. But it's the opening track. So if you think where we're heading, it's the opening piece of music, which is the main theme, and also features, I think it's the park at the very end. It is just instrumental, gentle piano, but such a motif, such a riff, if that's the right word to use, that goes round in a circle. And then Colin adds on a very gentle synthesizer on top of that, and then another one. And then this kind of, the strings come up underneath it. I used to, when I was in a band called Night Service in Birmingham in the late 70s, when we'd finished playing, I used to have a cassette player, and we used to play this Full Circle at the end after the gig as something got to chill out the audience. And in those days, it was kind of like putting it on a cassette and then putting a microphone in front of the little speaker so it came out the PA. Those were the days. But it was there was also many years actually when I used to put this on a cassette to help me go to sleep in a good way. I just absolutely love this album, Full Circle by Colin Towns, from the album The Haunting of Julia. So yeah, there are moments that sound like it's from a horror film, but they're quite sparse. But overall, it's just beautiful music. I think the film got made from Colin playing this in the film studio's kind of like director's meeting room or whatever, while I think the guy was telling what the story is about and the music was behind him as he was telling the story. But Full Circle by Colin Towns, the opening track, the Full Circle main theme, is the next one on my list. Next is the Rolling Stones, and it's from Let It Bleed, and it's Gimme Shelter. I used to have this on vinyl, but it didn't survive the vinyl cull for whatever reason. I have no idea why that was. This is the remastered version. Gimme Shelter is my favourite Rolling Stones song, bar none. It took me years and decades really to really enjoy the Stones, but when I first ever heard this song, it had a very haunting feel to it that's never gone away. It's never gone away. Any time I hear this song come on, I stop and listen to it. So if it's on the radio in the car, or I watch, if I think of all the Rolling Stones videos I might watch on YouTube, I always watch Gimme Shelter from different gigs. There's something about it, and something about the female vocal when it comes into that question and answer section about, war, it's just a shot away and all that, and the guitar solo it's just, it is perfect. And I know many people have covered this, and I don't connect to any cover version of this song. I don't. And you would think that it's not that difficult when you listen to the chord sequence, but you can't capture what the Stones did on this. And I do love other songs on this album. I do love other songs by the Stones, but this one is so far ahead of everything else in their catalogue to me that it makes me look back where I'm in my life now, what I've been through, where I'm going, what I'm trying to do, what I hope to do. There's something about this song that connects all the points in my life from when I first heard this as a school kid. It's there. Even though when I was a school kid and I listened to it, I dabbled with other things from the Stones, people trying to, but I thought, well, I don't really get that. But I got this immediately. It's the sense of drama in it, but there's something unique about the arrangement and the recording that it sets it at that time, perhaps, but it also is timeless to me. Gimme Shelter by the Stones. The next one is fairly upbeat in a way, but it's the lyrical message of it. It's Bad Company. Make sure I don't blind you with the glare from that. This is Run with the Pack, 1976, and the track is Simple Man. I liked it as soon as I heard it. It came straight in for Live for the Music. And it's freedom is the only thing. I'm just a simple man working with my hands. The vocal performance by Paul Rodgers, the space, the production, the relaxed sense of how it's been laid down. I know the lyrics repeat themselves going around in the circle, but each time they do that, Paul Rodgers adds different inflections to it that gives it more oomph and passion and power. And it's such a great melody, a great lyric, And it's one of those songs that I think it's always connected with me because it's made me realise, connect to my roots, all the times of working in factories, my background, but wanting to do what I want to do, not having someone come in and tell me you've got to do this, you've got to follow this path. There was something about that. Freedom is the only thing. I can apply it to where I am now, what I want to do in my life now, the struggles that I might be still going through, but also what I was going through then and which direction I wanted to go in. This song, Simple Man by Bad Company, has been a personal friend of mine for years, since it came out. These songs, actually, these pieces of music are friends. That's what they are. They're vitamins. They make me feel good. Everything that I'm describing today, and I know I can't play clips from it because for that, some of you think, how do I listen to this? Make notes. I'll try to put a playlist together and I'll share that link. But these pieces of music are friends to me. That I can rely on them. Yes, I can rely on this music. It never lets me down. It never lets me down. Simple Man by Bad Company. Next is from a soundtrack, The Lost Boys. Great film. Love the film. But the song here, which is the main song, is Cry Little Sister, the main theme, performed by Gerard McMahon. There's also an absolutely stunning version of this piece of music by a band called Churches, which I think isn't on any of their albums. I think it's only available to stream. Churches do this. Cry Little Sister. Again, it's not necessarily about what it means lyrically. It's the chord sequences and the way it's produced. I just cannot get tired of listening to that. I mean, some great tracks on this. It's a great soundtrack. But Cry Little Sister, it has this sense of nostalgia in looking back into the past, while also looking forwards with hope and anticipation of what still can be done. This is one of those tracks, actually, that I like a glass of wine or a beer. But I've always found that alcohol is an amplifier of wherever you are in your head. So if I don't feel great or I'm feeling a bit down, I don't drink because it amplifies that. And if I'm feeling great, I do. But I will admit, this song, for whatever reason, Cry Little Sister does have a strong pull to making you kind of look. It kind of dials up the melancholy aspect for me. I still love it. And if I play it, I put it on YouTube or something, I'm playing this, I will play it about 2 or 3 times. It's that kind of song. I don't think, I played that. There's something that really draws me in, but I feel that I have to be careful with that piece of music, if that makes sense. Next, Ian Hunter. And I've chosen Broadway, which might seem odd when I could have picked the one about Mick Ronson, Michael Picasso. There's so many things, Death and Glory Boys, The Outsider. But there's something about the track Broadway, and this is an album that Ian doesn't like. And whenever there's a track picked from this album, they always pick the track actually I'm not that keen on, which is the title track. Is it Justice of the Peace? Sorry, it's probably the track that I skip over, but the other stuff, Shallow Crystals, Miss Silverdime, Broadway. I think it's because it's about someone trying to break through, trying to make it, trying to do something with their life, trying to break through the chains, through the ceiling of something that's confining them or keeping them pushed down. And at the end, when all the voices and the choir comes in, that's what it sounds like to me. I just feel it and I believe it. And it was the track off this album I play over and over again. I remember talking to a friend who was just huge Ian Hunter fan. I said, that track Broadway. And he goes, I don't really like that one. It doesn't sound like Ian Hunter at all. To me, it's just fits in with this list. There's something naive. Is naive the right word? I don't know. It's something that shows that you can look up at the stars and you just keep going. Just keep going. You could make it. What you want to do, this idea you've got, no one's going to tell you it's not going to work. It might work. Give it a go. Keep going. It's that kind of piece of music to me. Gosh. What next? Next is an instrumental. And it's Ronnie Montrose, and it's from the Speed of Sound album, and it's called 0G. I think this was Ronnie just flicking through an aviation maintenance manual and just writing down whatever came into his head for the pieces of music. And obviously with the instrumental piece of music, you can call whatever you want. 0G has got the best guitar tone ever. And when it comes in with that gentle kind of keyboard layering, and when the guitars come in, I think they're double tracked, and it's just got that down, 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 and the slight push on the tremolo arm at the end of each line. It is such guitar tone, and then when he turns that corner and just starts the actual solo, oh gosh, my eyes well up without the need for any words. The feeling he puts into that guitar. I really miss Ronnie Montrose. I really miss him. I just loved his output, and I know he wanted to, every time he did this and everyone thought he was going to do more of that, he decided, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. So he kept you guessing and probably severely hampered his kind of trajectory into the big league. But the legacy of the work is left behind. And this is his finest instrumental album, bar none. And there's lots of great tracks on this, but 0G has got this. This makes me feel great. And you want music that really lifts you up. I play this and it has to be played loud, and I can feel the guitar and especially the lower notes. It's just fantastic. Again, if I do a video on favorite guitar solos, it would probably be in there. But there's something about the overall feel of it that's just tremendous, really. 0G by Ronnie Montrose. Next is Roger Daltrey. Those of you thinking, God, these are all on record. Some are on CD, as you saw, and they actually do have all of these on CD. It's probably easier for you to see them in this particular format. So what is it about Roger Daltrey's 1973 album called Daltrey? It's giving it all away, isn't it? I remember seeing him do this on the Uruguay Whistle Test. Russ Ballard is on guitar from Argent. I just love the song, and sometimes I see it on a jukebox on my travels, and I put it on, and you see other people in the pub going, "What's this?" Some people remember it, some people have never heard it in their life, most of them, and they go, "This is good," and I can see them go up to see what it is. I think it's just a boy giving it all away. It takes me back to being just a boy. But there's something, the melody, it's written by Leo Sayer. I just love this song. I never tire of it. Never, ever tire of it. We need a Roger Daltrey box set, I think. A lot of his albums are completely out of print. But this is just a fantastic song. His voice, Daltrey's voice at this stage, one of the best vocalists of his generation, and his voice from this period. And there's another track coming up soon from the same year with Daltrey on. But I feel that this is just one of my favourite songs of all time. Maybe the Cats in Space could do this. But absolutely brilliant song. Giving it all away. Roger Daltrey is at number 11. Next is another one picked for the guitar, and it is Bebop Deluxe and Sunburst Finish. Another contender for my favourite guitar solos of all time, Crying to the Sky, the B-side of Ships in the Night. I wasn't a huge bebop fan. And I know in Sound's music newspaper they were saying, forget about Sabbath, because there was some concern about technical ecstasy. You want to listen to Bebop Deluxe. So if someone says that to me, then I listen to the band thinking, forget about Sabbath because they sound like Sabbath. They're not. So maybe that put me off then. But I was in the pub. It's 1976, so I'm about 17. I'm an apprentice. It's not the best of times. And so on the jukebox, this song comes on, Crying to the Sky. And it was just on in the background. I hadn't latched onto it until one of two guitar solos appears. But this was not like any guitar solo I could think of, because this was the sound of a guitar that was crying in pain, and it sounded like the person who was playing it was barely in control of the instrument. It was teetering on the edge of feedback, as if he just moved slightly one way or the other, he would lose control of it, and the whole thing would just crash and burn. The solo is just fluid. It's incredible. It's just amazing. And then as it come out of that first solo, there's kind of like this reverb echo as it pulls back, and we come back into this soft, almost spoken, sung lyric. And you're moving until the top part, and we come to the final element of the song as we go into this solo again with these low notes, double tracked, and just again, there's a part when it hangs on a feedback note. The note hangs and it's just going just about. It's like the edge of a cliff, and then he pulls back and moves forward again. I absolutely love it. And this is one of these pieces of music that really helped me then, helps me now. As I said earlier, they're like friends. So when I'm thinking I'm not quite sure, I want that lift. I want an emotional lift to take me forwards. This track, Crying to the Sky by Bebop Deluxe, Bill Nelson, at his absolute best. From 1976, Sunburst Finish. An absolutely incredible track. Incredible. That was number 10. We're in the top 10 now. Yes, from Going for the One, Turn of the Century. Tuned piano, I think I remember seeing it in the credits. I love this song about loss, about the guy, the sculptor, about doing this piece of art, and the way it builds up. And again, what it really means, I don't need to know. What it meant to me, it gave me the feeling about total love, about being connected to somebody and that kind of level. The way it comes to the end with all that kind of tinkling and music layers laid on top of it. It just kind of filled me with such hope and joy. And where am I now? It's 1977. What am I listening to? I'm listening to rock music. I hadn't long got into Yes. I had the Yes album. I went to see the band on this tour, and this was it. So I was Going for the One, was guitar driven, all that kind of stuff, and Awaken, great. But this track, over the years, and from that point, just became isolated in the Yes catalogue to me as being the track. This is the Yes track. And they did it on their last tour, didn't they? It's just the way it kind of turns a corner emotionally towards the end. It just makes me feel great. This is like almost a spiritual dimension to this song, this piece of music. John Anderson's voice, the whole way it's put together, it's just an incredible piece of music. As I said, is it? Yes, it's my favourite Yes track of all time. Yeah, it is. And I just love that. So that was number 9 from Going for the One, Turn of the Century. Number 8 now, and this is the Babies. Piece of the Action, from their second album, Broken Heart. I bought this, I think, from Renington's Rare Records in Birmingham on an off chance because I loved the song, Isn't It Time? Isn't It Time is one of my favourite songs ever. I love it. I love the female vocals. It just makes me feel great. Maybe it should have been that one. But there's something that's more melancholy about Piece of the Action. I Got No Money, and it's about. There's a feeling about that. I guess where I was at the time was I was in this doing what I was doing in my life as a job was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to break out and be able to become more creative and hope to be a professional musician or something. And there was so much against me saying that isn't going to work, Phil. This is what you do. Follow this route. It's what your dad did. It's what his dad did. This is what your friends are doing. You just do this. And I didn't want to do that. But equally, part of me felt like it might be that's what happens. So there's something about Piece of the Action that kind of like I identified that it was basically saying this could be as good as it gets. But equally it was saying, but it might not. And it's the way that the guitars come in at the end and the way that John Waite's voice just dives down a tunnel full of reverb at the end. It kind of lifts your spirit up to say, do you know what? This is going to be fine. I will find a way through this. I will find an alternative route. There were great tracks on this album. It's lush with the string arrangements and all the rest of it. Absolutely beautifully recorded by Ron Nivison. Fantastic. And some beautiful songs on it. But that one is the one I go back to. It always makes me feel been through a lot, but I'm going to be okay. As I said, they're friends, these songs. What's next? A more recent artiste. And this is one that my youngest son, Lee, introduced me to, Paolo Nutini. And the track is called Iron Sky. Some of you will know this from the YouTube video where Charlie Chaplin does that speech about, the revolution and all the rest of it, about, humanity. You know the one. It's a fantastic speech by Charlie Chaplin. It's from a film, and it sits in amongst this. But there's something about this track that is at once pulls you emotionally through the grinder. The video is really, I know what's going on. It's people who are in pain and struggling. And there's something about the delivery. This guy's voice is just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. This is a really long track as well. But this is a track that makes me feel great. Emotionally, it gives me strength. It builds me up. It pushes me forwards. And when I was recently having some experimental surgery on my eye, it was an operation that had never been attempted before anywhere on the planet. And it was before I had a previous operation which had gone wrong. And so this was like the last chance saloon, really. I was playing this, and one part of me is like wallowing in self-pity, like, why me? And, how am I going to get through this? And the other part of me was feeling, using this music, using this track to pull myself up, out and forwards, thinking the odds are still good. This is going to be fine. And this is what the kind of ethos behind a lot of the music. This is personal. Music is subjective. Some of you might think, don't feel it, Phil. Do not feel this at all. Which is why I'd like you to talk about some of the pieces of music that do this, how I'm describing happens to me, to you. Because it may not be these at all. These music has so many different places to connect to you through all of your senses. But this is just one of those. But this piece of music has stuck with me because for that reason. And that's why it's so high up the list. It's powerful. Iron Sky by Paolo Nutini. Where are we now? Gosh, David Coverdale. That's as close to purple as we're getting probably in this. And it's Blind Man from his first solo album. Instantly, I heard this. I just knew. It was my wife, Sue, that said, sounds a bit like Be My Friend, this. I never noticed. Don't know why. It's so obvious in a way. But lyrically, the way it was recorded, his voice, I was really kind of wanting Coverdale to succeed. All the purple had disappeared and collapsed, and everyone seemed to be, all their solo careers were taking off and new bands coming out, and Coverdale kind of disappeared. So when he came up with this, I wanted so much to be behind him, wanted him to succeed. And Blind Man was this track that not only did it make me think, wow, but it also connected with me. Maybe because of those three connections, I don't know. But the way, where I was then, I was quite lonely. I don't know how to expand on that, where I was in my life at that time. But I had doubt, a lot of doubt in what to do, where to go. And this track kind of filled in some of those kind of blanks, but also made me think, well, David Coverdale's singing and talking about stuff that I'm feeling, you know, like the blind man not knowing where the sun's coming from, which again, he was lifted from Heartbreaker, wasn't it, by Free? But it doesn't matter. It's just a great visual anyway, but it's a song that and especially towards the end when he needs a woman and everything, and he really, his voice lifts up and the guitars are coming up. Mickey Moody's fantastic on this. It's just a fantastic track that I never tire of hearing, but it has to be this version. I know Whitesnake did it, and it's polished, but that polish to me took away some of the earthy, emotive rawness of the fact that you could feel as if you could get into Coverdale's heart to connect yours to it, whereas the later versions, I just felt it was kind of a bit more corporate, if that makes sense. So, Blind Man by David Coverdale from the album Whitesnake. Next is Pink Floyd. And this one is going to feature on my 16 in 1975 series, so I'll try not to duplicate what I'm going to say, although I will have to do some of that. And the track is Welcome to the Machine. It could have easily been Shine on Your Crazy Diamond, I guess, because that also was like, I'd never heard anything like it. With that, in my mind, I had this vision of what an electric guitar sounded like when it was trying to play something so sorrowful, so sad. And then David Gilmour does it on that track. But it wasn't that one. It was Welcome to the Machine, which, of course, Roger Waters is talking about Welcome to the Machine, meaning the music business, but not for me. Welcome to the Machine was sitting next to a drop forgings hammer factory in Whitton in Birmingham, covered in dust and crap and dirt and wondering where the hell I was going to be going, and we told you what to dream and all this. I just saw that as my career teachers at school, and everyone had kind of like lied to me, saying this is what you got to do, this is as good as it gets. And this song kind of just pulled me. Well, it didn't have to pull me down. I was already there at the bottom. But what pulled me out to look up above the dirt and the grime and the noise was Richard Wright's keyboard solo at the end. We have that guitar bit that down goes up, but at the end when we have those two synthesizer solos, just one slightly out of sync with the others that just come out through the stereo, I just felt, again, brought my eyes welled up where I remember the emotional aspect of this track, with tears coming down my face, thinking I can move forward from this. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And it still has that powerful feeling in it but for different reasons now. I enjoy it for the beauty of the music. But that track, I just put it on when I came home from work, put it on really loud, and just the lyrics meant what they meant to me because they attached themselves to what I was going through. But each time we came to the instrumental section and towards the end, it just pulled me up. It gave me wings. It gave me wings to move forwards. Welcome to the Machine. Pink Floyd, 1975. And then an album that is going to be the feature of a huge video, because it's one of my island discs, and it is Quadrophenia by The Who. Everything about this is perfect. It's a perfect album. This, my life is in this in many ways at various different times. But for the sake of this video, there's one track that I'm gonna home in on, and is Love Reign Over Me, last track, side 4. Again, the angst of being a teenager, the angst of trying to fit in, the angst of trying to say the right thing, do the right thing, follow your dreams, have your dreams stamped on. Love Reign Over Me, the way it starts, the distant piano, the rain, the waves, and then that hypnotic violin-esque kind of motif that comes in, and then Roger Daltrey's voice. It just reached down and picked me up off the street and just gave me again the lift that I needed, and the whole power of it. It was a song that I never. It was like a body of armor around me, that whatever's going on, wherever I was being pushed from one place to the other, this song gave me like a force field around myself to feel great. And the way it builds up, right up to the crescendo of the guitar solo as well, when it drops back, because it's a very minimal guitar solo, but it mimics how Daltrey is delivering the words. And the entire end, the crashing ending, and him sliding his plectrum down the strings. Yes, it's one of my favourite tracks by The Who as well, let alone my favourite track from this album, although that does vary a bit. But for the sake of this, which is all about music that really gives me an emotional push, pull, lift, or stops me dead in my tracks, Love Reign Over Me by The Who from the album Quadrophenia from 1973. Epic. Next, number 3 is Max Richter again, and this is on the nature of daylight. There are multiple versions of this. This is the thing about classical composers. Unlike rock composers, they'll do multiple versions of the same thing. So different arrangements. But there's, I think it's the actress who was in Mad Men. There's a video with her sitting looking really maudlin and upset in a cafe while this is playing, because it's a video for that track. And then she's walking through the streets. There's that one, and there's another one with them playing a different version. But it's been used in multiple films, adverts, TV series. It absolutely takes me to the point of I could just cry my eyes out listening to this piece of music. There are no lyrics, there are no words. It's just basically piano and violin, but it is so powerful. It's like an emotional cleansing effect. Yes, it does make me feel sad. If I'm thinking about my mom and how she died, or my dad, or think people I've lost along the way, or things that haven't quite turned out, then this music just focuses and pulls me down to reflect and look at that aspect of myself. But there's something also incredibly hopeful and freeing, and something that induces courage in me as a person when I listen to this track. There's just something it works on so many different levels, but it is so powerful that I can't put this on in the background and be happily on the computer or reading a book. It just tells you. It must go into your neurons in your brain and just decide, no, this has to be listened to. Whatever else is going on, this is happening now. And so if you've got like multiple things that's going on in your life, I need to make a to-do list, and it kind of wipes the to-do list out of the way. And then you look at a blank piece of paper and you think, I'm just going to do this. And then afterwards I'll move on. It's just incredibly powerful piece of music. Max Richter is superb. One of my favorite composers. But this track is everywhere. When you listen to it, you'll notice it. But there are multiple videos because it's that kind of music that just sounds cinematic. And that's it, isn't it? A lot of these tracks are cinematic. They create stories of possibilities in your mind. And that's the best music does that. Max Richter on The Nature of Daylight. There are 2 left. And as I said at the very start, whether these are in the right order, I don't know. But it was the only way I could think of getting through this video. Number 2 is Free. And it is Be My Friend. This is my favourite Free song. And it's one of my favourite songs of all time. And to think that the kids in this band were teenagers when they wrote this. The emotional maturity of all of them in creating this piece of music, and those of them that weren't technically the writers, Fraser and Rogers, how Kossoff and Kirk interpreted what they were feeling here. I'm afraid in the night, and there's the vulnerability, the fragility in the message. This is no bravado. This is no, I'm a big rock singer and, and rocking down the highway and all the rest of it. This really tapped into the human condition. These are the songs that you listen to in your bedroom on your own, in the dark, or coming home and feeling lost and wanting to find a way forward. I sometimes can't put into words how important the band Free are to me. Everyone knows I love Purple and all the offshoots, and I do. But when I'm talking about stuff like this, it is about lyrics, and it is about the vocal delivery, and it is about everything else that supports that. And I mean, this is a great album anyway, which I've done a separate video on, but Be My Friend. And it's also a song about love, isn't it? But in a genuine way. It's not about, it's not babe, I'm going to leave you or whatever. I think it's not just about wanting to get off with someone, kind of. It's about wanting to be someone's friend. It's about wanting someone to listen to you. It's about wanting someone to just listen to you, to talk to you, to be with you on your wavelength. And I think that's the other thing that makes this such a magical track, because it's about friendship. It's about those special moments in your life when you connect with someone. And it's about having the courage to open up your heart, knowing that the more you open it up, the more you could probably get hurt. And so as you go through life, we tend to close it down. But this is the innocence of this time of 1970, the album Highway by Free, when this is about taking risks, emotionally or whatever else you're doing with your life. And this to me is just a perfect song. If you've never heard Free, apart from All Right Now, go here. Give it a chance. All of them, all 4 of them are on top form. It's a great, Love You So is also good. Soon I Will Be Gone. On My Way, Highway Song, Stealer, Be My, it's just fantastic anyway. Be My Friend. One of the best pieces of music ever written. So what's number 1? I'm not quite sure how this got there in some ways. And I'm going to show you the single rather than the album, because it's the single I bought from the album Works by Emerson, Lake and Palmer, of which at that time I was not a fan of the band at all. And I don't even know if I'd heard the track. It was a picture sleeve, and I think it was about 1020p. I think it was an ex jukebox single, was it? Yeah, it was an ex jukebox single, which is why it's got the little thingy in the middle. And I went home and just put it on. And from that moment, I was completely hooked, not on Emerson, Lake and Palmer at this stage, but on this song. I didn't play the B-side more than once, Jeremy Bender, I'd Like It Now. I knew Greg Lake from Father Christmas single, but this, the way he sang, the lush string arrangements and the accordion in the solo bit, I can't really kind of describe what it's like when we come to the end and the c'est la vie and all the strings and everything. It was almost like a song that was going to remind me how I felt when I met my wife. Although obviously then I hadn't met her, I didn't know she existed. It was when I was hoping to meet someone. I think that it made me a kind of connect or want to believe that you could, what's going on in your life. I'm not making a bit of a mess of this, aren't I? It just made me feel hopeful. It just made me feel great. It made me feel full of love and hope, even when I was on my own. It just kind of plugged me in to the world. It was as good as walking along the beach. It was as good as a fork full of the best curry you've ever tasted. It was as good as a fine cup of coffee. It was as good as sitting down with your mates. It was as good as being with the people in your life you love. There's something about it that just went, and everyone I played it to, they go, oh wow, what a song. Oh wow, what a song. C'est la vie, Greg Lake. It's still, I can't find the word. In fact, of all the things I've spoken about, the one that's at the very top, I haven't got any words. But it's beyond words. So there you go. Phil Aston from Now Spinning Magazine ends the video being lost for words. So that is my top 21 for now. Most emotive tracks of all time. Well, as I said at the very start, there were others that started bubbling and breaking down the doors to come in. So it's for now, shall we say. Anyway, if you're still here watching this, please subscribe. Please ring that little bell. It makes such a difference to helping to grow the channel and Now Spinning Magazine. If you become a member of YouTube or a patron, you will get access to the Now Spinning Magazine Facebook group. It's a private group for collectors and like-minded people. There's also a WhatsApp group, exactly the same, but there's more bells and whistles in that. You also can come along to the Now Spinning Arms, our own virtual pub, twice a month. You get discounts on merch of all types, as you can see here. And of course, you get to see all the videos before anyone else. But thank you so much for being here. Remember, music is the healer and the doctor. So keep spinning those discs. Stay safe, everybody. And I'll talk to you all very, very soon.